Yep. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North Canton City Council Committee of the Whole meeting, April 20th, 2020, 7 p.m. via teleconference. Ben, will you please call the roll?
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Sreda?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Here.
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Folk?
Here.
7 present.
All right. Thank you very much. And first up is Community Economic Development Committee. Before we begin, I'm under the impression that members Fonte and Stroya wish to abstain from the discussion for item A. Is that still correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Mr. President, Mr. President. Okay, let them abstain and take them out of the conversation. Go ahead.
All right. Ben, can you, for the moment, put them on mute for item A?
They are muted.
All right. Thank you. Chairman Revolt.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had in our packets a draft of the CRA legislation. I would like to ask this evening for a motion and a second to table this. We still have a couple of details to work out. I'm not comfortable proceeding at this point. So if I could have a motion, I'll make the motion to table this until our next table. Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Ben, can you bring them back in for B then?
Who seconded?
Okay, can we go on to item B then?
Who's second?
Shannon, I think it was Stroya.
Thank you. No, he.
Sreda second.
It wasn't me.
Sreda
So
second.
I abstained.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Are we ready for item B?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We have a request from Stark County Board of Commissioners to renew or participate again in the Federal Community Development Block Grant Program. We have done this for the past 27 years. The county needs legislation from us for participation in the fiscal years 21, 22, and 23. This isn't particularly controversial. Is there any discussion?
Hey, Daryl, I do have a question.
Yes.
Have we approved this in 3-year blocks before, or is this something that the county has asked us to do?
I think we've done this in 3-year blocks in the past.
Have we?
My recollection is that we have.
Approval was a 2-year block. The
Okay.
county this year was for a 3-year block.
Thank
Okay.
you, Ben.
I'm good.
Okay. Motion to move it forward to council.
Okay. Do we have 4 votes to do it for legislation?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Clerk, would you please place this on the agenda for next Monday for our next regular council meeting? All right. We have item C is the Planning Commission. We have a recommendation from the Planning Commission making some adjustments in our fence regulations. These recommendations, I know Marty's on, but if you'll hang on a second. What we need to do is we need to set a public hearing for these recommendations. And after that, we have the opportunity to discuss and then reject, accept with amendments the Planning Commission's recommendation. Marty, I'm not sure we need to get into the grass tonight on this, but we do need to set a public hearing date for June 1st.
Daryl,
Yes.
It might be helpful if Martin were able to just
Yeah, okay.
encapsulate in some bullet points so that the public would know what it is the public hearing is going to be about.
Okay, very good. Marty, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so as you see on the screen there, that's the high level changes. And what we're seeing is our current ordinance is pretty vague, if you will. It's a single paragraph to address a fairly complex situation of walls, fences, and hedges. The proposed ordinance provides many regulations, if you will, that clarifies what we would expect to see with fences, particularly starting out with, as you see, clarifying the permit requirements. There's some exceptions to when a permit might not be required, where we don't have any clarification for that, just basically fences. This ordinance does establish some vision clearances for vehicles, particularly on corner lots, where again, we don't have that currently. Regulates the materials of fences, in particular retaining walls, alters height requirements, where the current ordinance is pretty restrictive on fence height requirements. Some of that maintains the same, where there's some of it where it makes sense to change it. We've increased the height on certain corner parcels and certain parcels where residents that are adjoining a non-residential type of use. Again, where that would make sense. Again, it talks about retaining walls, regulates height and design, configuration, if you will, of retaining walls. Some mention in there for temporary fences and put some on how long.
I'm having trouble hearing Marty.
Oh, how about now?
That's good. You just seem to be going in and out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at my monitor, and I think the microphone is being pretty sensitive. So I'm actually on the last bullet point here. Essentially, the proposed includes some maintenance provisions in there. So if, basically, if the fence is not maintained,
you're fading away again.
Right. Yep. So yeah, that's an overview of that, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So Marty, this is Dominic Fonte. Hey, so on the front, like, so let's say it was a 3 foot in the front of the building or the house or whatever the case may be. I think that's what the code was. But with the trash cans now being so much taller, like obviously a 3 foot lot, like let's say you had a little section of fence to try to hide the garbage cans. 3 foot isn't high enough to cover that. So is that a problem, or is that where the flexibility is?
There's some flexibility there, and it will depend on how far off the property line it is, what parcel it is. I mean, there's a couple different ways we could go with a fence ordinance. One is, you open it wide up, which we did do, or we implement criteria based on the different, trying to encapsulate as many of the criteria that we encounter throughout the community and address that. So we have, for example, we have different types of corner lots where one might adjoin another corner lot. The other corner lot may adjoin a front yard of an interior parcel, and each of those have different needs and licenses. So we do, in certain areas, we do increase the maximum height to 6 foot. In some areas, again, it's 2 foot. So if we're up against that right away and we're doing a solid fence, those are still going to be 2 foot. I guess what I'm saying is most of those garbage cans are set back usually. So it is plausible now to be able to get your fence up to 6 foot set more towards the back of the property.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marty, I applaud you. This is Sharetta and the Planning Commission for kind of moving forward on changing some of this, because there are different situations where it doesn't make any sense to what we have, and we do need to update some of this thing. I think we still need to further be a little bit more liberal in helping people out when in different situations. Because I think it's a situation that calls for some of this. Sometimes it's just set in stone, doesn't handle the situation sometimes. So I hope this opens up some areas where we can go out there and give approval to folks that do need different heights and different changes. So it can not only help the aesthetics of the whole thing, but privacy is a big deal too for people. People have pools, people have different things. I really think we should be looking at each individual case in some instances to kind of open it up a little bit.
I appreciate that. And it was a team effort. There were many from administration, of course, the law director and planning.
Right. I know it's been ongoing. Pat's been working on it. Daryl's been working on it. So I applaud you guys for moving forward with this kind of legislation.
Yeah.
Marty,
yes, sir.
We'd like to, are there any more questions for Marty? If none, Marty, Jeff, we'd like to set June 1st as a public hearing for this recommendation. And if you would make a note and be available for that public hearing, that would be great.
Absolutely.
And then what I'd really like to do is, I'm assuming that June 1st is a council of the whole. Ben, if you would place this item on the agenda for discussion that evening as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Daryl.
Yes.
Yeah, that timetable works for me. However, I do have a question. By the time we get into middle June, beginning of July, we're going to have some holidays where we won't have meetings certain weeks. What are your thoughts on putting an emergency clause in there to allow folks that we're going to construct this summer to have that construction start in the beginning of the summer rather than in the fall?
Jeff, I don't think we can adopt this on emergency, but we can have 3 council meetings to do it.
Okay. All right.
Good idea, though, Jeff. I do think we need to get going with this. People can start now, not 2 months from now.
If I may,
Yeah.
and Director Fox can correct me on this. We can have the first 2 readings before that June 1st date. We just cannot adopt the 3rd and final reading unless we've had the public hearing.
Spot on, Ben.
But then it's 30 days after that. That's where he's looking, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ben's, look, I know we've got 2 people that are looking for fence work. Generally speaking, I am very reluctant to have council take action prior to the public hearing. But I think if let's do this, let's put this on an agenda for Monday night for a first vote. We'll do the second vote. We'll hold the public hearing, and with the proviso that if there's significant objections, then we'll go to Plan B, whatever it is. But to everybody's point, we're in the summer season. People, I know we've got 2 people who need to have this issue addressed. As reluctant as I am to do it, let's do it that way.
Daryl, you had mentioned that this is Diorio. You had mentioned even when it did come back to council that you wanted to go back to committee again. And I don't need to go back to committee. You go to first reading.
It goes to the reading to next Monday night. First reading.
Okay, but I mean, you were talking about June 1st originally going to a.
Well, I think, I guess the thing of it is what I would always like to, again, I'm a bit of a purist here. I believe that we ideally, we should hold a public hearing and then hold a committee meeting to authorize legislation, because something may come up where we want to amend that legislation. But in this particular instance, Patrick, I'll bow to the weight of the calendar. I'm sure the guys at the fence need employment. Given the economic climate, I'll bend over on this.
Good call.
Okay,
Okay, so again, legislation, Monday night, public hearing on the 1st, and then, vote soon after. We should probably have a week or something after that, but do it.
All right, so we had some discussion there. We had a motion and a second, correct, to do this? Did I call the roll on that?
No, I don't think.
this is the
No,
committee
you have it,
meeting. I don't know why we're calling the roll.
No, to set the town hall meeting.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I'll make a motion that we hold a public hearing on June 1st to consider the recommendations of the Planning Commission regarding amendments to the fence legislation language.
Soretta, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And Daryl, anything else on that?
No, let's just get it done.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, that concludes the committee of the whole. So I entertain a motion to adjourn out of this meeting.
So moved. Folds.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned out of the committee of the whole. Now I'd like to call to order the North Canton Special City Council meeting, April 20th, 2020. The time is 7:16. Mark, would you like to lead us in the opening prayer?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord, thank you for bringing us together and the honor of representing our community. Thank you for keeping our community and its workforce healthy. Give us the strength, the wisdom, the courage, the determination and compassion to lead our community in the way that you will. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you. At this time, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And Ben, please call the roll.
Member Foltz?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Revolt? Member Soretta?
Here.
And Member Stroya?
Here.
7 present.
All right, thank you. Now, for your consideration, I need a motion and a second to approve as presented minutes from April 6th, 2020, virtual committee of the whole, minutes from April 6th, 2020, virtual council meeting, minutes from April 13th, 2020, virtual council meeting, and minutes from April 13th, 2020, virtual special committee of the whole.
Motion to.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. At this time, recognition of visitors. I believe we only have one, Mr. Osborne. So Ben, I will let you take it from here.
Mr. Osborne, are you there?
I am here.
When you're ready.
Okay, Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast North Canton, Ohio. Let me start out with this zoning change. That'll be quick to get out of the way. It would be very helpful if you could get our current zoning code and insert in the existing code how you're trying to expand or broaden and what this new code is supposed to cover. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
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 I think that would help the council members to be able to see the exact changes that are taking place. I hope we're strengthening this and clarifying things, so when things do have to go to the planning or zoning, they're not trying to just figure out what's what. Secondly, I think there should be some variation in these requirements between larger properties and smaller properties. Certainly, the R50 lots that I live on that are scattered throughout the city require greater protection because you're living on top of your neighbor. I can look right outside the window of my house and right into the bedroom of the adjoining house. So the fencing requirements and stuff need to keep that in mind. Lastly, and I hate to puncture your balloon here, this is a zoning change. They have to be read at 3 regular meetings. You cannot accelerate these readings. So your desire to rush this through is not legal. All right, I'll leave that one and let you argue that one. Regarding the CRAs, I know you've tabled that tonight, and I appreciate you're giving that closer scrutiny. But again, I'm afraid you're giving away the farm here. And you're basically approving years and years later what happened over on Harmon Street. You're giving 12 years the abatement of taxes for, what is this here, improvements. Here's 15 years. There is no reason to go these number of years. And again, I am against these abatements down the line. People are not going to come into these R50 neighborhoods and demolish 2 or 3 properties to build a home. I think all this time and energy and paperwork will not merit any benefit for the city. And certainly, I just do not want to see these number of years. Here's the last one here. Commercial and industrial. You're already laying out the ground rules that you're going to give 15 years at 100%. Why we continue to do this, I will never understand it. So anyway, I think that should probably just limit what I will criticize. And lastly, this CDBG, which I guess we've been doing for years and years, I find it odd that you have people that have been on council for 20, 25 years, have no memory of what we've done in the past. Is there any downside? Are we giving up anything when we get into these CDBG block grants? With every decision that goes on in government, there is a downside. Nobody wants to even hint of a downside. Every decision in life has a downside, and we should recognize and bring that out and see if the upside totally outweighs the downside. That's all I have, and I see my 5 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay, and that's it, Ben, right?
Yes, that's the only person.
Okay. All right, thank you. So moving on to old business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 15-20?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance amending North Kansas Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1173, Procedures for Zoning Certificates and Certificates of Occupancy, specifically Section 1173.02, Zoning Certificate Required by exempting the requirement of a zoning certificate, is more fully described in Exhibit A, attached here to and incorporated herein.
Thank you. Chairman Revolt.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we've discussed, this legislation allows homeowners to replace driveways, patios, and sidewalks in the existing footprint without a permit. This legislation is a result of meetings organized by Mark with a number of the contractors who explained the mechanics of trying to pour concrete in an efficient and effective way. And we believe that this effort on a trial basis hopefully will produce a good result and encourage the contractors to do more work here in the city on a competitive basis. Mark, what did I leave out?
Not much more. It just kind of, again, kind of opens up the process a little bit more than what we've been, puts us in line with a lot of the other communities and how we handle these concrete people and how people can work with that without getting permits and slowing down the whole process, especially when there's only so many days to pour concrete and so many hours of good weather and rain. And they won't have to be waiting for all that. So it just opens it up a little more to put us in line with other communities. But you covered most of it, Daryl. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, Dominic here. So the other question is that, without a permit, sometimes it scares people, but it's with contractors that are approved through the city.
Right. And if they want a permit, they can ask for one and get a permit and make sure it's done.
Hey, Daryl, Peters here. Do you mind if I got a quick question? In your comments, you mentioned replacing driveways within the current footprint. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't this allow expansion of said driveway as long as it falls within the zoning code?
It does. It does.
It does.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought.
Yeah, sidewalks. Right.
The permit that would be granted.
Right.
Regarding.
Okay.
It's the,
You need
it's
a
the
permit
replacement of legally established driveways.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Good.
You would need a permit to expand the driveway from existing size. That
That's
has
right.
to happen.
Okay.
And again, if we find that this isn't workable or we need to correct it, Jeff, to your point, to re-amend it, I think council can look at this. Hopefully Marty will monitor it over the next year. Let's get through this season. The next 6 months are critical. We'll know how should have an idea. And if Marty, you're still on, I hope he'll get back to us sometime in the fall. And we'll assess the success or failure of the ordinance.
Okay.
May I have a motion then? If there aren't any other questions, may I have a motion to adopt the third reading of ordinance 15-20?
So moved by Foltz.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Moving on, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 18-20?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor upon board control approval to enter into an agreement to amend the North Water Tower lease agreement between the city landlord and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC tenant.
All right. Thank you. Chairman Revolt, it's all you tonight.
Okay, yeah. Boy, am I lucky. As we discussed previously, this is an extension of a current lease. It includes some automatic extensions. The lease generates $23,000 a year, and the extensions are in 5-year increments. Patrick, have I left anything out?
Not that we haven't covered already.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, then can we have a motion to adopt the first reading? Or excuse me, second reading.
Third.
Third reading. I'm sorry, third reading. I'm looking at the wrong
yes.
page here. Third reading of ordinance 18-2020.
So moved. Second, Stroya.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion carries. And moving on to new business, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 21-20?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Tim.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of economic development revenue notes of the city under Section 13, Article 8 of Ohio Constitution and Chapter 165 of the Ohio Revised Code, pay cost of a project as defined in Section 165.01 of the Ohio Revised Code for the purpose of creating, preserving jobs and employment opportunities and improving the economic welfare of the city and its residents in the state of Ohio, providing for the pledge for that purpose of certain non-tax revenues, establishing certain funds of the city, approving related documents, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Revolt.
Thank you. As we discussed last week, this legislation authorizes the city to borrow $4.4 million for the acquisition of 27 acres, which are divided between 3 parcels: Kmart, 6 acres to the west and 15 acres to the north, for an economic development project. Patrick, what else do we need to add to this?
To this particular thing, there will be a companion ordinance passed by the Community Improvement Corporation later this week, and that the city is pursuing its due diligence on these projects or on this development, and we'll have more information as the situation breaks in the days, weeks ahead.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? And again, let me just reiterate this. The reason the city's pursuing this is we want to control the development of the site, these 27 acres, and we believe we have a prospect that will bring at least 200 jobs to this location.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
I'd like to add something. This is Stroya. I have heard some people and have had some questions. Why did you guys try to bid $1 million more than what was previously bid? I just want to clarify, this is for 3 parcels, not one parcel that was previously bid on. So I just want to clarify that for people that are questioning that.
Yeah, Mark, to go to the numbers, the Kmart parcel was the Kmart building itself, and the land it sat on, the 6 acres, was $3.4 million. The other 2 parcels totaling 21 acres was the additional $1 million. And we needed the additional 21 acres to accommodate this project.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
that. Okay. What am I doing here? Okay. Motion and second to suspend the rules requiring.
No, we need a motion to adopt. We need a motion
Yes.
to adopt the first reading.
Yeah. Thank you, Daryl. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now may I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes the legislative portion. Department reports, Deputy Director of Administration.
No report.
All right. Director of Administration.
No report.
Do we have the mayor on?
We do not.
He was on in the beginning.
It looks like he's on. Is he muted?
Let me go check.
I didn't see him. I wonder if we lost him.
No, he's on. Scroll down.
Yeah, he's on there.
No, to press the space bar.
Mayor, can you hear us?
Huh.
I will say the mayor is doing his communication to the community every Wednesday. He's been streaming that, and he's planning to do it again this Wednesday if we don't get him tonight.
All right, I'll tell you what, we'll come back to him. Ben, if you could effort that and find out what's going on, if we can get him on, I'll slip back around. Director of Law.
Yes, sir. In fact, the mayor, myself, and our clerk are here at City Hall. So I'm going to have the mayor take my seat, and he can speak through the microphone, and it will be just as though he's in his office down the hall.
Right. Okay, sounds good.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
Okay, here we go. First of all, I want to thank council for their approval of the of allocating the for us to go forward and get the funds for the Kmart properties. I think it'll be a great asset for us when this comes to fruition. So I want to thank council again for their willingness to support this endeavor for the betterment of our community. Just a word of caution again, I want to thank everyone who is still performing well in confronting this disease that's been affecting us so much with their guidelines for personal hygiene. I'd just like everyone to remember to continue to adhere to state and local guidance, as well as the complementary CDC guidance, particularly with respect to face coverings. I'm out and about, and I in a number of functions. But, I see more and more people using face coverings, and it might be the new norm. But please, when you're out in the public, for your protection and my protection, keep those things in mind. But once again, thank you, council, for your support tonight. That's all.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Tim, are you back on?
I am back on. I have no report, sir.
All right, thank you. Director of Finance.
No report.
All right, Engineer Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just quickly, we're really busy in engineering. If you haven't noticed all the orange barrels around town, we had 5 contractors actually in town today running 6 crews. One firm had 2 crews on 2 different jobs. So getting a lot done as long as we have weather like this continue. And along those same lines, maybe you saw our Facebook post from last Friday. You know, we have our joint Apple Grove resurfacing project with the county engineer. And we're looking to start that Wednesday, to this Wednesday, the 22nd, to the following Wednesday, weather permitting, to be working right in the middle of North Main and Apple Grove. If you recall, that the pavement is so deteriorated in the middle of that intersection. And we're looking at doing that full depth, that foot of asphalt, to get that in. And actually, the less traffic should really be a big beneficiary to us. And that's my report, sir.
All right, thank you, Rob. Council Clerk Young.
No report.
All right. First up, Ward 3, Member Warren.
I love that you're giving me the opportunity to go first again. So I will just say that I am definitely enjoying the park amenities, as is my family. And I was there yesterday with some other pickleball players, and they just were raving about those courts again. I've been at the different places in Eastwoods, and some of the patrons came up and just said how nice that is and how they appreciate the new park. And I know we spent a lot of time and energy kind of researching that last year. And Mr. Graham, I am definitely noticing all of the work that is going on over by Auburn Knoll. And so thank you for getting all those bids in early, and just thanks to council for accepting them and moving forward on this. I think there's a lot of progress going on in the city. And thank you, Mayor, for your report again. I enjoy that.
All right, thank you. Next up, Member Stroya.
All right, hey, just wanted to start out by saying thank you, Chuck, for some of your good points there. Thanks to the mayor for the live updates. I know a lot of people look forward to those, and I think they're very effective, so thank you. And then I just want to remind people, try to support our local businesses because a lot of them are suffering and they could use our help. So that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Member Strata.
No additional report. Everybody said everything good. I keep blessings for everybody who works for us and out there working. But that's it.
Okay, thank you. Member Fultz.
Thank you. A couple things. One, to follow up to public speaks with Mr. Osborne. I do want to make sure when we bring this back, the CRA agreement, and just be careful with, I think it's item D in 5, section 5. It does say construction of new commercial or industrial structures, combination of therefore. We want to watch it. We just aren't giving away tax incentives to build on vacant property. So I think the key to this is residential property, to get creative, to see where this goes, to see if people want to develop, older structures, tear them down, and then put a nice new amenity or housing project on those properties. So just want to be careful of that. And I'm glad that Councilman Revolt tabled it because I think that deserves more discussion. Second thing, Rob, thanks for all your efforts out there. It's exciting to the weather's breaking and we're right on top of our street improvements. I noticed Portage, we're excited to get that done and to look forward to getting that pavement done with the catch basins being repaired. And also to the mayor, Pat DiOrio, administration, and this council for everyone's leadership with this Kmart property. I do like that we are taking things into our own hands and seeing what can be developed there. I think we got some great opportunities, and we should all be applauded to take this opportunity and see how far we can go with it. So appreciate everybody's leadership on this. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Member Revolt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo Doug. I want to thank the mayor and I want to thank Pat for their work on this Kmart project. There's the Special Air Service is kind of the British equivalent of SEALs. Motto is who dares wins. And the safe thing to do is to do nothing. But I applaud council for stepping up. There've only been a couple times in the years that I've been associated with the city where council has been this bold. And I never recall a situation where so much work has gone into trying to execute a project. So I applaud the council. I applaud the mayor. I applaud Pat for the work. Let's get it done.
All right. Thank you. Member Fonte.
I'd like to echo, everybody said the right thing, but since I'm going last, I would say thank the whole team again, which is all the people we just talked about. And the way we're adjusting things is don't curse the wind, but adjust your sail. That happens in every aspect of life, especially even with the coronavirus, this invisible enemy that we're dealing with that's affecting so many people. So it's true what Matt said is please think about these other businesses, especially in our backyard. My goodness, help them out. And, when it's nice and everybody's trying to figure out what to do, the yards are looking better earlier this year because a lot of people have spare time. And I'm seeing a lot of activity. I saw Stephanie's kids at the park, pickleball, and all the green spaces, including the park systems, the trails, Price Park, a lot of activity. I mean, it's really nice to see people, taking advantage of the amenities we have. So don't curse the wind, adjust your sails. And that's what we're doing. And the final thing is, don't forget, guys, even with all these distractions, we still have to remember the vote. So if you haven't voted, let's get the vote out so we can keep some of these amenities and maybe look at new opportunities and make sure that we, speak our God-given right.
Great reminder, Dominic.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good, Dom. And I'll finish up by, first of all, thanking the mayor for his reports to the community. Those are outstanding, and I look forward to every one of them. And to Rob, all the hard work you're doing. Engineering department, we appreciate all of your hard work. And finally, Pat, the mayor as well for steering us with this Kmart property purchase. Really excited where this is going to take us. So I guess I will finish up. Council, final call for new business. And if there are none, address the meeting calendar. Next two meetings, April 27th will be our virtual council meeting, and followed by May 4th, a virtual committee of the whole. And that concludes the agenda. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Folds.
Second, Soretta.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.